Hello everybody, SlimKirby here and welcome back to more Let's Play Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Last time we completed Chapter 3 and now we're going to move on to Chapter 4. Chapter 4, A Distant Voice. So last time we actually learned that there is actually an heir to the Daean throne, and we are going to look for that heir. But first we have a new feature, or not so much a new feature since this was in Path of Radiance, but here's the base menu. From the base you can do a variety of different things. First you can manage your items, where you can basically, trade items to other units if you need to. Like for instance, Nolan doesn't need a steel bow since he can't use bows, so he can give that to Leonardo. Although Leonardo can't exactly use the steel bow yet since he has only a D in bow strength, I think. Let me go ahead and check that. Yeah, he only has a D. He can only use that when he gets to C in bows. And you can also put items, like for instance the chest key, energy drop, basically anything you want really. You can put this stuff into the convoy, so you don't have to, carry it around with you wherever you go. So I'm going to do that. Let's see. Anything else? Oh yeah, the Draco Shield. Some of these items, like the energy drop and the Draco Shield, actually give you certain bonuses to your stats. Or not so much bonuses, but they're permanent stat increasing items. And as I think I've already mentioned, I'm probably not going to use these for a while, especially once I figure out what my team's going to be, so I'm not going to worry about them yet. Besides, I can get through the game just fine without them too, so I don't even need to use them if I really don't want to. And now I'm going to just look through my units and see what items they have and what items they need before I go into the shop. Let's see, Ileana doesn't have any healing stuff yet, so I'm going to give her a few things. Give her an herb, and I think Laura doesn't have anything either, so I'll give her an herb as well. And yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the other options. Here we have the shop. You can go to the Armory and purchase weapons of any kind. What I'm going to do here is actually, let me do this. I don't like the way they did it in this game because you can't really see what characters you need items with. You have to kind of switch between the items menu and then the shop menu, which is kind of annoying, I have to admit. So, okay, Micaiah could use a light tome. Soth is fine. Edward, maybe a wind sword if I really want to. Nolan, I'm definitely going to give him an iron axe. Laura could use another healing staff, and Aaron should be okay. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's first get a light tome. We don't have very much gold, so we can't spend too much here. Let's see, what else? Okay, yeah, iron axe. I'll give that to Nolan. And I believe just the healing staff, too. So yeah, you can get weapons from here. From the item shop, you can get staves, herbs, vulneraries, and any of the other items like that. And you also have this bargain shop where you can find unique weapons that you can't buy just on the store shelves. So we can get a javelin, hand axe, a beast killer, an L-light, and a men's staff. I'm going to go ahead and get the hand axe, just so I can give Nolan a ranged weapon. And I'm also going to buy the men's staff as well and give that to Laura. And I'll just give Laura another heal staff too. And that should be pretty good for a while. I tend to buy more things than I probably even need, so you'll see me buy a lot of stuff throughout the course of the game. And I'll tend to sell my vulneraries and stuff later on. I don't even know why I'm keeping the vulneraries I have. I usually just, I can sell them by this point. But I'll go ahead and keep them for a while. And yeah, you can basically sell things at the sell items, and you can also forge your own weapons as well. Like in Path of Radiance, I don't really even do this, and I'm probably not going to be doing it for the playthrough either, so yeah, I know. I'm sorry if you guys want to see me forge a weapon and use a forged weapon, but I never really do this, and I don't really even care to do this either, so I'm really not even going to bother with it. But you can basically forge your own weapon based on certain stats. You can make your own modified weapons, give them like a lot of attack power, or you can make them very light so, you know, characters can easily double attack with them. There's a lot of different things you can do with forged weapons. So that's basically it for the shop. Next we're going to go to Manage, where you can award bonus experience and skills. Bonus experience you get for basically completing a chapter, and you can get some bonuses to your bonus experience as well. Usually if you finish the chapter fast enough, you can get a huge bonus. If you fulfill certain requirements in the chapter, you can get some extra bonus experience. It's basically a way where you can level up your characters outside of battle. And basically for this, if a character's close to leveling up, I'll just go ahead and give them enough bonus experience to level up. Or if there's, you know, a character I plan to use, I'll go ahead and give them a lot of BXP too, so let's see. As stupid as this might be, I'm going to go ahead and give him the next level up. And also, whenever you level up, 3 stats will always go up through the bonus experience level up. 3 stats will always increase. So you can actually use this to manipulate your stats later on. Like if one of your characters has maxed out everything except 3 stats, you can use bonus experience as a way to always increase those stats every single level up. It's a good way to max out your characters, although I never really pay attention to that. But that is, you know, one thing you can do. And I'll go ahead and give you enough to level up too. But as usual, they'll tend to follow their growths a little more than, you know, what they actually need, so it's still kind of random which stats go up. It's not decided or anything. Until you get to the point where, you know, you can't raise some stats up. And you can also manage your skills, take off skills from certain characters and give them to other characters. Not going to worry about that right now. Here you can actually manage a character's supports. I'll kind of get into this a little later, but, you know, I will try to, you know, put some decent support characters together. Normally, like, I always put Laura with Aaron, and I always put Edward with Nolan, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And of course, Micaiah and Soth already have their A support, so I don't have to worry about that, but that's basically what this does. It can give you certain bonuses in the field of battle, which is nice. And this also gets into the whole thing with affinities as well, which I'm going to go ahead and put the affinity bonuses in the video description below, so you can look at those if you want. And that's about it for the supports. Here we have info where you can see a bunch of different conversations. Usually the higher importance a conversation is, the higher chance you'll actually get an item from that conversation, so I'm just going to go ahead and show off all of these conversations because they do give off, you know, some valuable information. So, first, in town. And from this conversation, we actually get a new character. This is Meg. She seems kind of shy. And she's actually from Crimea, so she's actually come quite a way to be here. She must really want to find this someone. So yeah, we have a new character. This character is Meg. She is our first armored unit. And, okay, I've actually joked about Meg a lot in the past. I've always said that Meg is actually a pretty bad character. And I will admit that she's not great, but she does have her good sides. She is an armored unit, but one of her best attributes is actually speed, something that most armored units lack. The only problem is, the one thing that armored units need is defense, and she has probably one of the worst defense stats for an armored unit ever, so, you know, as a unit that's designed to take hits, she doesn't take hits very well, and that's really one of the bad things about her. She also starts off kind of low, so if you want to make use of her, you kind of have to level her up and give her a lot of bonus experience, basically just baby her around a little bit. But I have to admit, I've actually used Meg in one of my playthroughs, and she can actually be pretty good. Her defense, you know, you wish it would be better, but that is what it is. She can still pretty much survive on her own. But it does take a little work to get her up there, so that's one of the downsides of using Meg. But overall, she can be a good unit. She can be. And even then, that's kind of a stretch. She does have a skill called Fortune. It nullifies enemies' critical attacks, which is a very good skill to have. If you don't want to deal with critical attacks, just equip the skill to a character and you'll never have to worry about them again. So that is one good thing about the skill and what Meg has. But overall, that's really about it for Meg. As you can see, she's actually using a sword. And, you know, knights and armored units are famous for using lances. That is because there is an armored unit for every single weapon of the triangle. There's an armor sword, armor lance, and armor axe. I'll go into all those other units later. But yeah, that's Meg, and we still have some other conversations, so let's go over this. These two conversations basically just tell you how the merchant convoy works, which I've kind of already explained. You can kind of just, you know, scroll through this conversation and read it if you want, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it, so I am kind of skipping through it a little bit, so I do apologize if you want to read this, but, you know, I've basically already kind of explained this. And she's talking about the bargain bin, too. And we have more merchants. I believe these guys are going to talk about selling items and forging items, or forging weapons, rather. Which, again, I've kind of already mentioned. Oh, I guess they have made some changes, though, so I guess we'll go ahead and listen to that. And lastly, we have a conversation with Kurth, which is not very important because it only has 1 star, but we'll go ahead and listen. So yeah, Kurth is actually really mysterious. Not sure what his deal is, but I guess we'll probably find that out later. And that's it for all the info conversations. Next we have the library. Library, first you can look at the records from like the past chapters, see how much bonus experience you've gained, and also see who your chapter MVPs have been. Micaiah was the MVP for the first 3 chapters, which is kind of weird. I've kind of figured Edward would have actually taken that role, but I guess not. And Nolan was the MVP at the last chapter, which I can kind of understand. He did do a lot of killing, so that's about it for that. And you can also look at terms and characters. I'm not going to look at this, though, because since I'm doing New Game Plus, or, clear data file, all of the terms and characters have actually been filled out already. And to avoid spoilers, I'm not going to look at these. So, terms basically talks about a few things you'll be hearing throughout the game. And it'll talk about a few characters as well. And the characters thing kind of shows a giant tree of all the characters you've met in the game. And what their connections are and that kind of thing. It's kind of cool to look at whenever you have time, but again, I'm not going to show it off due to spoilers. Then of course you can save your game and then end. Wow, this is probably going to be one video in itself. I do apologize about that, but I wanted to make sure I covered everything. And also, I can probably cut out some of that stuff in the future, so you probably won't have to worry about me going over that too much. So yeah, let's get back to the game. Soth is kind of going over a plot point from Path of Radiance, where calling Bjork a human and calling a Laguz a subhuman is actually supposed to be insulting. You have to call them by their technical names or something. I think that's how it works. And that's kind of interesting right there. Because, yeah, when you think about it, I mean, we are trying to restore Dayan. And Ike is pretty much the person who destroyed Dayan, or put Dayan in the place it is now. I mean, I guess you could kind of blame King Ashnard for that, but really it was by Ike's hand who actually crushed Dayan, even though that really wasn't the point. But yeah, right here we have a treasure cove of a cave. Uh-oh. Looks like we have people who are not happy to see us. And it looks like this is going to be our first fight with the Laguz. Okay, so here's another screen where you can actually do a few things, but they're all pretty self-explanatory, so I don't need to cover everything. I am going to position my units, though. But yeah, we're actually fighting Laguz units. I'll kind of talk about that as, we get through the chapter. First, I kind of want to arrange everything the way I want it and the way I like it. Let's see. And yeah, here's Meg. For this playthrough, I'm probably not going to use Meg because as I already said, I kind of already used Meg in my last playthrough, and I really don't, use her again. There are other characters I probably want to give a try for this playthrough. Maybe not necessarily, a first try or anything, but whatever. Okay, I think this is pretty much how I want things, so I'll go ahead and save right here. And let us get started with the battle.